What if the package you ordered wasn't a gadget or a pet, but a living, breathing being from another world? Who claimed you instead? When Noel opened his mysterious delivery, he didn't just unlock a crate. He unlocked a bond that would defy governments, reshape destiny, and take him beyond the stars. But with strangers watching and secrets unraveling, one question remains. Would you run from the unknown or choose it? If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move toward this wonderful story. It was a gray, rainy afternoon when Noel received the message that a package had been delivered to his doorstep. He blinked at the notification on his phone, confused for a moment. He hadn't ordered anything recently, at least not that he remembered. Then, like a whisper from a dream, it came back to him. A few weeks ago, during a late night filled with boredom and loneliness, he had clicked on a strange ad that read, "Looking for something more than a pet? Try a true companion." The website was simple and vague. It promised a rare, one-of-a-kind creature, highly intelligent, emotionally aware, guaranteed to change your life, it said. At the time, Noel had chuckled and placed the order half-jokingly, expecting it to be some quirky robot or a futuristic plush toy. He lived alone in a small studio apartment on the edge of town, the kind of place where neighbors kept to themselves and no one asked too many questions. As he opened his front door, he was greeted by the sight of a sleek metallic crate sitting quietly on the wet doormat. It looked nothing like a normal package. The crate had soft blue lights glowing along its edges and strange symbols etched into its sides, shapes that looked almost like constellations. A delivery slip was taped to the top, with only his first name written in bold black letters. To Noel. The delivery driver was already walking away, head down, no explanation given. Noel called out, but the man didn't stop. Feeling uneasy, he dragged the heavy crate inside, wiping rain off its surface with the sleeve of his hoodie. He circled it, trying to find a latch or a switch. As he reached underneath the edge, his fingers found a small, smooth panel. The moment he touched, the crate gave a soft hiss. A release of air escaped, and the front of the crate slowly opened like the petals of a mechanical flower. Noel stepped back instinctively, heart pounding in his chest. A faint, warm light glowed from inside the crate, and then someone moved. Figure slowly rose from within, calm and graceful. It was a girl, or at least she looked like one. She had smooth, pale skin that seemed to shimmer slightly under the light, and her long hair fell in waves of soft silver. Her eyes were large, deep and strangely colored. They shifted subtly as she blinked, blue, then violet, then a flicker of gold, like watching oil spread across water. She wore a suit that hugged her figure, made of a fabric that looked like liquid metal. Around her neck was a slim collar with a tiny pulsing crystal in the center. Noel froze, staring. His mind raced to make sense of it all. Was this some kind of performance art? A prank? A robot? The girl tilted her head and gave him a small, serene smile. "Hello," she said softly. Her voice sounded almost musical, like wind chimes swaying in a gentle breeze. "I am Kaylin. You are Noel. I am your companion now." Noel blinked several times. "Wait, what? Companion? What does that mean? I didn't order a person." Kaylin stepped out of the crate and stood before him. She was taller than he, expected, almost his height. Her movements were smooth, calculated yet gentle. "You did place the request," she said, looking him directly in the eyes. "Not with your mind, perhaps, but with your heart." "Okay, that's not creepy at all," Noel muttered, backing up slowly. "This has to be a mistake. You can't stay here. I don't even know what you are." She nodded as if she had expected that reaction. "I am not here to cause harm. I was chosen for you, and I chose you." Noel felt a chill run through him. "Chosen by who?" Kaylin touched the crystal on her collar. "By the calling system. It identifies individuals who are alone, disconnected. You called, even if you didn't realize it. And I answered. Noel tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. It was true. He had been lonely, working from home, barely talking to anyone outside of email and phone calls. His life had become a blur of gray days and silent nights. But that didn't explain this. This beautiful, strange girl who claimed she belonged to him. As if reading his thoughts, Kaylin smiled again, this time with something softer in her eyes. You don't have to understand everything now. Just know that I am here for you, to learn from you, to help you, to be with you. He opened his mouth to object, to send her away, to say something rational, but nothing came out. Instead, he stared at the soft glow of her presence, and for the first time in a long time, something inside him stirred. Curiosity, confusion, maybe even a spark of wonder. Outside, the rain continued to fall. Inside, a connection had begun, silent, strange, and unexplainable, and neither of them knew just how much their world was about to change. The days that followed Kaylin's arrival were anything but normal for Noel. At first, he kept expecting her to disappear, like a dream that faded when the sun came up. But every morning she was still there, sitting quietly on the couch watching the sky through the window, or tidying his already small apartment with a strange sense of calm. She didn't eat, didn't sleep, and yet she always seemed full of energy. Noel wasn't sure what to do with her, or what she expected from him, but she never asked for much. She simply stayed close, as if waiting for him to speak first. Noel had spent most of his adult life keeping people at a distance. His job as a freelance animator kept him behind a screen, and his social life was nearly non-existent. But Kaylin, she was different. She listened without interrupting, asked questions that made him think, and never looked away when he answered, even if the answer was awkward or sad. She didn't laugh at his bad jokes, but she smiled like they mattered. Slowly, Noel found himself talking more than he had in years. He told her about his parents who lived far away, and about the dog he had as a child. He showed her his sketchbook, expecting her to politely nod, but instead she studied every drawing like it was a treasure. Kaylin's curiosity seemed endless. She asked about everything: why people liked pizza, how elevators worked, what dreams were. Noel tried to answer as best he could, but sometimes her questions left him stunned. Once she looked at the moon and asked, "Why do humans find it beautiful, even though it never changes?" Noel had no answer. He just said, "Maybe, because it reminds us we're not alone." One afternoon, while Noel was working on a new project, Kaylin sat beside him and watched his screen. Without warning, she pointed to a design he had been stuck on for hours and offered a simple suggestion. He tried it, and it worked perfectly. Surprised, he turned to her. "How did you know that would fix it?" She hesitated. "I didn't know. I just felt it. Like, I could see what you were trying to make." It wasn't the first time she did something like that. A few days later, when Noel burned his hand on a hot pan, Kaylin rushed over and placed her fingers gently on the red skin. Within seconds, the pain faded. The mark was still there, but it was faint, as if days had passed instead of minutes. Noel stared at her, shocked. "What are you?" he asked. Kaylin didn't answer right away. She looked down at her hands. "I'm still learning," she said quietly. Things got stranger when Juno showed up. She was an old friend of Noel's from high school, now back in town after years away. She had heard he wasn't doing well and decided to visit. When she walked into Noel's apartment and saw Kaylin, her smile faltered. "Who's this?" she asked with a forced grin. Noel stammered through an explanation, calling Kaylin a foreign exchange guest. But Juno wasn't buying it. She stayed polite during the visit, but later she pulled Noel aside and whispered, "There's something off about her. Her eyes don't look real." Noel laughed it off, but the seed of doubt had been planted. That night he sat across from Kaylin and studied her quietly. She noticed. "You're wondering if I'm telling you the truth," she said. "Are you?" he asked. She stood and walked to the window. "I was not assigned to you by accident. I chose you," he frowned, But you said you were part of some program, like a visitor, an exchange thing. I am, but I wasn't sent here with permission. That made Noel sit up straight. Wait, you ran away? Kaylin nodded slowly. I left my world without approval. I didn't want to be studied. I wanted to experience something real. I searched through the database and found someone who had stopped searching for meaning, someone who needed connection. Noel's chest tightened. You picked me because I'm lonely? I picked you, she said gently, because you were honest in your emptiness. That honesty is rare. He didn't know what to say. Part of him was angry. He had never agreed to be part of some experiment. But another part of him felt seen, in a way no one else had ever managed. Later that night, while Kaylin was humming softly in the living room, Juno sent Noel a message. I did some digging. There's no record of any Kaylin at the agency you mentioned. But I found something else, a case about a missing entity, unregistered, dangerous. She attached a blurry photo. It looked like Kaylin. Noel stared at the screen, his heart pounding. The photo was dated 2 years ago. He looked up. Kaylin had stopped humming. She was staring at him. You found something, didn't you? She said quietly. And for the first time since her arrival, Noel wasn't sure he wanted the truth. The weeks passed and Kaylin remained at Noel's side. She blended into his life in quiet ways, softening his mornings with gentle music, filling his evenings with strange, beautiful stories of faraway galaxies. At first, Noel thought he could keep things simple, keep her a secret. But the world around them had started to notice. It began with small things. His landlady, Mrs. Doran, mentioned the unusual girl she'd seen stepping out to check the mailbox. She's very graceful, she said with a curious smile. Is she your cousin or something? Noel had laughed it off, muttering something vague. But that small exchange planted a seed of anxiety. Kaylin had promised to stay hidden, but lately she'd been venturing out more, drawn to the sunlight, the birds, the scent of flowers drifting in from the neighborhood gardens. Then there was the incident at the coffee shop. Noel had taken her out early one morning when the place was quiet. He figured she deserved to see more than just the inside of his apartment. Everything was fine until the barista dropped a mug near the counter, shattering it. Without thinking, Kaylin moved, too, quickly. Before the mug even hit the floor, she caught it midair with a speed that was clearly not normal. A few people clapped, impressed. One person recorded it on their phone. After that, things changed. Whispers followed them whenever they stepped outside. Kids on bicycles stared at Kaylin with wide eyes. An older man from 2 doors down asked Noel where she was from. She's got the look of something foreign, he'd said, squinting. Noel began keeping the blinds drawn. He told Kaylin to stay inside, and she agreed, though her expression had a sadness he hadn't seen before. Juno came by more often now. She watched Kaylin closely, asked more questions, and started leaving with quiet tension on her face. One afternoon, she pulled Noel aside outside the apartment. You can't keep pretending this is normal, she said. She's not like us. You know it. I know it. And sooner or later, someone's going to do something about it. Noel rubbed the back of his neck, unsure of what to say. She's not hurting anyone. But what if she does? Juno asked. Can you really guarantee she's safe? That night, Noel confronted Kaylin. Did you know someone recorded you? At the cafe? She nodded. Yes. And you didn't say anything? I didn't want to worry you, she replied. But it's already begun, hasn't it? Noel didn't answer. He felt it too, the sense of something building like a storm slowly crawling across the sky. A few days later, the knock came at the door. It was soft, polite. But when Noel opened it, the man standing outside wasn't selling cookies. He was dressed in a black coat and dark pants with a trimmed beard and eyes that didn't blink enough. He introduced himself as Agent Wells, from a special department within public safety. He showed a badge, though Noel didn't get a good look at it. The agent smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We've received reports of unusual activity in the area," he said, his voice smooth and steady. "Would you mind if I came in and asked you a few questions?" Noel's stomach tightened. He didn't move. "About what?" "A companion of yours," the agent replied. "A young woman, silver hair, strange behavior, ring a bell?" Kaylin appeared quietly behind Noel in the hallway. She didn't speak. She just looked at Agent Wells with calm, unreadable eyes. The agent smiled wider. "Ah, there she is." Noel stepped in front of her. "She hasn't done anything wrong." "That depends on your definition of wrong," the agent said. "She's not human, is she?" Noel didn't respond. "We'd like to take her in, for examination. Nothing invasive, of course." His voice was full of fake calm. "But we can't let unknown entities walk around freely. It's a matter of safety. For everyone." "No," Kaylin said. Her voice was quiet, but it filled the room. "I will not go with you." The agent raised an eyebrow. "You don't have a choice." Kaylin's eyes shimmered. Her skin seemed to flicker, just for a second, as if her form was slipping like a reflection on water. Noel stepped closer to her, heart racing. "I won't let you take her," he said. The agent's smile disappeared. "Think carefully. We don't want this to end badly." Kaylin placed a hand gently on Noel's shoulder. "Don't worry," she whispered. "I knew this moment would come." Later that night, as they sat in silence, Kaylin stared out the window at the stars. Noel could see the worry in her eyes, the weight she'd been carrying since the beginning. "They'll come back," he said. "Yes," she replied. "They won't stop now." Noel took her hand. "What do we do?" She turned to face him, her gaze full of something strange and beautiful. "We run." And just like that, his quiet life was gone. There would be no more hiding, no more pretending. The world knew something it was never meant to know, and it was coming to take her back. The night was quiet, too quiet. Noel kept looking over his shoulder as he and Kaylin moved quickly through empty streets lit by dim street lamps. The cool air stung his face and his thoughts raced. He had never broken a law in his life, never skipped town, never ran from anything until now. But this wasn't just about fear. It was about her, about Kaylin. He couldn't let them take her. Not after everything they had shared. Not after she had changed him. Kaylin walked beside him with purpose. She didn't speak, but her hand was steady in his, warm and reassuring. She seemed calm, but he could tell she was worried too. Her eyes scanned every shadow, her silver hair tucked under a hoodie. They had packed light, only what they could carry in one small backpack. Noel had stuffed it with a few supplies, while Kaylin had brought only a small device the size of a pebble that glowed faintly in the dark. They reached the old observatory on the hill just before midnight. The building had been abandoned for years, but Noel still remembered sneaking up there with friends during high school. It was far from town, surrounded by trees, and it offered a clear view of the sky. If they were going to do this, whatever, it had to be here. Inside, the place smelled of dust and rust, but the telescope dome still opened with a slow creak. Kaylin stood beneath the stars, holding the small glowing device in her hands. "It's time," she said softly. Noel watched her as she knelt and pressed the device to the concrete floor. It stuck there like a magnet, and a quiet hum filled the air. Slowly, a column of soft blue light began to rise upward into the sky, almost invisible unless you were looking right at it. "What's it doing?" Noel asked. "It's calling someone," she replied. "Someone I hoped I'd never need to speak to again." The words made him uneasy. "Who?" Before she could answer, a beam of white headlights cut through the trees. A black vehicle rolled to a stop just outside the observatory. Noel felt his heart sink. "They found us." Kaylin stood, her expression unreadable. "Not them. Him." A tall figure stepped out of the van. He was dressed in simple gray robes with pale skin and sharp eyes that glowed faintly under the moonlight. His presence felt cold, like the air dropped 10 degrees the moment he appeared. Kalen stepped forward. Archivist. The man gave a small bow. Kalen, you broke every rule, left your world. Took forbidden technology, formed a bond with a human. You know what must happen now. Noel stepped between them. You can't take her. She hasn't hurt anyone. The archivist looked at him like one might look at a small child trying to challenge a storm. You misunderstand. She doesn't belong here. Her presence disrupts balance. Your world is not ready. She's not a danger, Noel said. She's kind, curious. She made my life better. She made me better. Kalen looked at the archivist. Let me explain, but he shook his head. The time for words has passed. Kalen reached for Noel's hand again. Then let me make a choice. The archivist narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? I left because I wanted something real. I came to learn what connection meant. To feel, to care, to belong. I found that with Noel. She stepped closer to the beam of light. I won't return as a tool. I won't be caged. Noel's breath caught. He wasn't sure what she was about to do, but he could feel the energy in the air change. The archivist paused, studying her. Then he turned to Noel. You bonded with her willingly? Yes, Noel said without hesitation. If that matters. It does, the archivist said quietly. Because now you must decide. A ripple moved through the beam of light, and suddenly Noel understood. You're giving me a choice? The archivist nodded. Return to your normal life, forget all of this, or go with her, leave Earth, start anew. Noel looked at Kalen. Her eyes were full of emotion, fear, hope, love all at once. She wasn't asking him to rescue her. She was asking him to choose her. He didn't hesitate. I'm going. The archivist didn't argue. He simply stepped aside. Kalen smiled. A tear rolled down her cheek, glittering in the starlight. Together, she whispered. They stepped into the light. The world around them dissolved, not like falling, not like flying, just a quiet shift. When Noel opened his eyes again, they stood in a wide field under a sky filled with unfamiliar stars. The air was warm and humming, filled with colors and sounds he couldn't describe. It was beautiful, it was alien, and it felt like home. Back on Earth, Juno stood near the observatory, watching the final flicker of blue light fade into the stars. At her feet, a single silver feather lay glowing softly in the grass. She picked it up, and for a moment, she swore she could hear Kalen's voice. He chose curiosity over fear, and then silence.